The Starship Explorer IV sliced through the shimmering upper atmosphere of Xylos, a planet that defied every expectation of alien worlds. Below them, Xylos wasn't just lit, it glowed. Every tree pulsed with soft, bioluminescent light. The rivers flowed with liquid luminescence, tracing veins of pure light across the landscape. Even the air seemed to shimmer, filled with tiny, glittering motes of light that danced like microscopic fireflies. It was a kaleidoscope, a living, breathing aurora. This was the home of the Lumina, a truly astonishing alien race, whose very existence was intertwined with light. Their bodies, fluid and graceful, seemed to be made of pure, shifting light, capable of changing hue with their emotions. They communicated through intricate light patterns, and their technology was a dazzling symphony of focused light beams and glowing energy fields. For the Lumina, darkness wasn't just an absence of light, it was a concept alien to their very being, almost a form of non-existence. They saw the human ship as a curious, slightly clumsy shadow entering their radiant domain. Humanity had journeyed to Xylos for a singular, vital purpose, a rare lumin crystal found deep beneath Xylos's glowing surface. This crystal, when processed, could power Earth's struggling energy grids for centuries. It lay buried within vast, deep cavern systems, places where Xylos's natural light couldn't penetrate. On the bridge of the Explorer IV, the small, specialized team prepared for their descent. Commander Valerius, the mission's leader, stood tall and unyielding. A man of strict discipline and unwavering faith in advanced technology, he believed every problem had a high-tech solution. He was a veteran of countless expeditions, his face etched with the lines of command. "All right, team," his voice boomed, sharp and clear. "Remember the briefing. Standard procedure, minimal interaction with the locals, get the crystals, get out. Dr. Thorne, your sensors are fully calibrated." Dr. Aris Thorne, the team's top tech expert, barely looked up from his console. He was a whirlwind of nervous energy and brilliant intellect, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. His pride was his advanced light-based scanners and mapping devices, the pinnacle of human ingenuity. He lived and breathed data. "Commander, my internal sensors are showing a 99.9% probability of success. Our light-based mapping system will give us a perfect 3D render of the entire cavern system. These mines will be like walking through a brightly lit park to us." He gestured with a confident flourish. He'd even tried to understand Lumina tech, but only through the lens of light, unable to comprehend anything beyond that spectrum. Standing slightly apart, adjusting the ancient, scuffed comms unit on her wrist, was Anya Sharma. Unlike the others, Anya wasn't a military specialist or a cutting-edge scientist. She was a spelunker, a cave explorer, whose expertise lay in navigating Earth's deepest, most treacherous caverns. Her past was marked by years spent in absolute darkness, mapping subterranean worlds where no light could reach. There was a quiet intensity about her, a subtle watchfulness that set her apart. She had a unique gift, an extraordinary sensitivity to sound, a kind of innate auditory talent that allowed her to discern the most subtle echoes. She'd survived a catastrophic cave-in years ago, nearly buried alive, and that experience had etched both fear and a profound respect for the darkness into her soul. Her love for strange, resonant sounds was almost quirky, a hobby that often baffled her colleagues. She was a woman who listened to the world in ways others couldn't even imagine. Beside her, casually leaning against a support beam, was Sergeant Grin Riley. A combat engineer with a perpetually cheerful disposition, Grin was the team's moral compass and comic relief. He could fix anything with a smile and a well-placed joke. "Just try not to break any of those shiny Lumina glow sticks on the way in, eh, Doc?" he quipped to Thorne, earning a dismissive wave. He initially found Anya's quiet methods a bit odd, preferring to rely on good old-fashioned tools, but he was always quick to support his teammates. The shuttle, the Mole, detached from the Explorer IV, a dull, dark shape descending towards a vast circular opening on Xylos's surface, the entrance to the Lumin crystal mines. As they approached, the glowing light of Xylos began to fade, replaced by a growing dimness. "All right, team," Valerius's voice resonated through the shuttle. "Initial scans show clear access. Dr. Thorne, give us the go-ahead." Thorne's screens glowed green. "Clear, Commander. Our deep scan probes are already mapping the first few kilometers. Looks like a straightforward descent. Plenty of clearance." He sounded confident, almost smug. Anya, however, felt a strange dissonance. Even through the shuttle's reinforced hull, she could sense something off about the acoustics of the mine. A faint, almost imperceptible hum, a deep resonance that seemed to swallow sound rather than reflect it. She focused, trying to make sense of it. The silence wasn't quite right. It was a heavy, suffocating silence. "Commander," she spoke, her voice quieter than Thorne's usual bluster, "I'm detecting some unusual acoustic dampening from the mine walls. And the echo patterns are peculiar. I think our light-based mapping might have some blind spots in there." Commander Valerius glanced at her, then back at Thorne. "Dr. Thorne." Thorne scoffed. "Acoustic dampening. Sergeant Sharma, we're not using sonar, we're using visual spectrum mapping. There are no blind spots when you're literally illuminating the entire area. Probably just some localized mineral interference, nothing to worry about." He dismissed her concern with a flick of his wrist. Valerius nodded, trusting his tech expert. Anya sighed inwardly, but said nothing more. They were too confident, too reliant on what their eyes could see and their instruments could measure. Outside the mine entrance, several Lumina scouts hovered. Their bodies pulsed with soft, curious light. They were also here for the lumen crystals, but they knew the dangers of the deep mines. Their advanced light-based sensors couldn't penetrate the extreme darkness within, rendering them useless. They watched the human shuttle descend, its dull metallic hull a strange shadow in their radiant world. They saw the humans activating their light tech, observed the bright beams cutting into the growing darkness. A shared flicker of light between them expressed a mix of awe and grim satisfaction. They believed the humans, like any light-dependent species, would quickly become lost in the crushing, light-absorbing void. They thought the humans were going to the same fate as any Lumina who dared venture too far into the lightless depths. The Morley shuddered softly as it entered the mine's maw. The vibrant glow of Xylos quickly faded behind them, swallowed by the massive opening. Part 1 ended not with an explosion, but with a descent into a silence that was growing heavier, a darkness that promised to be absolute. The humans, full of overconfidence, were stepping into a world where their greatest strength was about to become their greatest weakness, while the subtle whispers of the deep remained unheard, a prelude to the true challenge ahead. The shuttle mole continued its descent, deeper and deeper into the bowels of Xylos. At first, the transition was gradual. Their powerful headlamps cut through the growing gloom, casting long, dancing shadows on the mineral-rich walls. Dr. Thorne's holographic screens, usually ablaze with vibrant 3D maps, still showed the immediate surroundings, a network of glowing lines tracing their path. Commander Valerius watched with a satisfied nod. "Smooth as silk, Thorne. Looks like your tech is living up to its reputation." "Always does, Commander," Thorne replied, a confident smirk on his face. "These aren't just lamps. They're high-intensity spectrum illuminators, designed to penetrate any darkness. And our LiDAR scanners are creating a perfect, real-time map." But as they spiraled further down, an eerie change began. The very air around them seemed to thicken, laden with fine mineral dust that absorbed light rather than reflected it. The walls of the mine, composed of an unknown obsidian-like rock, seemed to actively drink in their powerful beams. The vibrant glow of Thorne's screens began to dim, flickering like dying embers. Their powerful headlamps, once piercing beacons, now struggled, casting only weak, ghostly glows. The light was being systematically devoured, swallowed by the insatiable appetite of the deep. "Commander," Anya's voice cut through the comms, a slight tremor in her tone. "The acoustic dampening is increasing exponentially. It's like the walls are eating sound. And the air, it feels heavy, almost viscous. Her natural sensitivity to subtle shifts was picking up on something fundamental. "Nonsense, Sharma," Thorn scoffed, still trying to recalibrate his fading instruments. "It's just the density of the mineral deposits." But even as he spoke, his voice lost its usual arrogance, replaced by a note of growing anxiety. Then, it happened. Not with a bang, but with a terrifying, absolute silence. One by one, Dr. Thorne's screens blinked out, dissolving into total blackness. The holographic map vanished. The powerful light-based sensors went dead, and finally, with a soft click, their high-intensity headlamps flickered, dimmed to a mere pinprick, and then extinguished completely. The shuttle was plunged into absolute, suffocating pitch blackness. It was a darkness so profound, so complete, that it felt like a physical weight pressing down on them. You couldn't see your hand an inch from your face. It was a primal, gut-wrenching terror. "What in the blazes?" Commander Valerius roared, his voice betraying a hint of panic. "Thorn, what's happening?" Dr. Thorne's voice was tight, laced with disbelief and a rising frustration. I don't know, Commander. All systems are offline. The light absorption is total. My sensors are registering nothing. No light, no reflections, nothing. It's like we're in a black hole." His usual confidence had shattered, replaced by the desperate babble of a man whose entire world had just gone dark. And then, as they struggled to process the sudden void, the true nature of the mine revealed itself. The floor beneath them subtly vibrated. The air hummed with a low, unsettling frequency. The sonic minefield had been triggered. These weren't traditional mines. They were sophisticated energy fields designed not for explosions, but for disorientation. Activated by even the slightest sound waves in the absolute darkness, these hidden devices emitted vibrations and disorientation waves that directly targeted the human inner ear, scrambling their sense of balance and direction. Every movement, every panicked cry, every heavy breath triggered another wave. "Ugh, what was that?" Grin Riley groaned, clutching his head. He felt a sudden wave of nausea, his stomach churning. "Feels like my guts just did a flip-flop." Commander Valerius tried to issue orders, but his voice cracked, his words swallowed by the pervasive thick darkness. "Team, status report, stay calm, don't move." But no one was listening properly. Panic was setting in. One of the junior technicians, disoriented by the waves, stumbled, his cry echoing only to be met by another disorienting thrum from the hidden mines. Anya, though shaken, found a strange, familiar sensation in the darkness. Her past trauma from the cave-in momentarily resurfaced, the memory of suffocating blackness, but her training, her innate connection to sound, began to kick in. She forced herself to breathe, to listen. The vibrations were rhythmic, but the echoes were all wrong. They weren't reflecting. They were being twisted, warped. As they fumbled forward, relying on touch, their hands brushing against cold, unfamiliar surfaces, they suddenly collided with something. A soft, glowing body. Buri, it was a lumina. But unlike the radiant beings they had seen on the surface, this lumina was dim, its light barely a flicker. It was trapped here, just like them. They had already entered this part of the mine, probably drawn by the same mineral deposits. The lumina, typically so fluid and graceful, now moved with a jerky, desperate energy, bumping into walls, its dim light flaring uselessly. It was trying to communicate, its light patterns chaotic and unreadable in its fear. Brawn. Then they realized there wasn't just one. There was a whole group of lumina, equally lost and terrified in the suffocating darkness. Their beautiful light-based bodies and technology were completely useless here. They were trying to navigate by sending out desperate, weak pulses of light, which were immediately devoured by the light-absorbing walls. Their normal, intricate light communication was reduced to chaotic, panicked flickers, unintelligible even to them. They were relying on touch, blindly patting the walls, but their sensitive visual organs were overloaded by the lack of input, causing them pain and disorientation. Their high-pitched chirps of distress echoed through the mine, sometimes triggering the sonic mines, causing waves of nausea for both species. The humans looked at each other, their faces invisible in the profound blackness, but their shared predicament was palpable. The lumina, usually dominant, were utterly helpless. And the humans, whose advanced tech had failed, were now face to face with the terrifying reality. They were in the same boat, perhaps even worse off, because at least the Lumina were from this planet. The mine wasn't just dark, it was alive with a silent, vibrational malice, ready to disorient and trap anyone who dared to move within its lightless grip. Anya closed her eyes, trying to block out the overwhelming chaos, and just listen. Something was there, a faint whisper in the dark, a clue she couldn't quite grasp yet. The air in the mine was thick, heavy with the metallic tang of fear and the dust of unseen rock. The team huddled together in what felt like a suffocating pocket of eternal night. The occasional, desperate flickers from the trapped Lumina nearby only made the darkness feel deeper, more oppressive. Commander Valerius, usually so composed, barked orders, but his voice was strained, laced with a frustration that bordered on panic. "Report! Anyone! Can anyone get a reading? Thorn, what's your status?" Dr. Aris Thorn, slumped against a cold, unseen wall, ran his hands through his hair, his usual meticulous composure shattered. "Commander, I'm getting nothing. Zero. My light sensors are dead, my comms are scrambled by the mine's resonance, even my emergency glow sticks won't light up. This place, it's like a void that eats light." His voice was filled with a bitter blend of defeat and disbelief. His world, which had always been so perfectly defined by data and light, had utterly collapsed. Sergeant Grin, Riley tried to crack a joke. "Well, at least we won't have to worry about getting sunburns down here, eh, Docs?" But his usual cheerful tone was flat, and the joke fell like a stone in the heavy silence. He fumbled for a ration bar, but the darkness was too profound. He couldn't even see his own hand. Ania called something different. While the others strained their eyes in the futile hope of seeing something, anything, she closed hers. She had always been like this. In the absolute darkness, her other senses sharpened, especially her hearing. She listened to the suffocating silence, to the faint hum of the sonic mines, to the almost imperceptible thrum of her own heartbeat. She started to make small, deliberate sounds. First, a soft whisper, barely audible even to herself. Then, a series of gentle clicks with her tongue. Finally, a low, sustained hum, a deep note that resonated in her chest. She wasn't trying to make noise, she was trying to listen to the echoes. She focused, not on the sound she made, but on how it came back to her. A sharp, quick return meant a nearby wall, a softer, longer echo suggested an open space. A blurred, distorted return indicated a strange material or a complex shape. This was echolocation, the same technique bats and dolphins use to navigate in darkness. But Anya wasn't just listening for reflections, she was listening for the quality of the echo, the subtle differences in its pitch, reverberation, and echo time. It was like painting a picture with sound, creating a map in her mind, a skill honed by years of mapping intricate cave systems on Earth. Her childhood had been filled with hours spent in soundproof rooms, training her ears to distinguish the faintest sonic signatures. This was her hidden gift, her secret language with the dark. "What are you doing, Sharma?" Commander Valerius demanded, his voice a tight whisper in the oppressive dark. "Are you humming? We don't have time for a concert." "I'm listening, Commander," Anya replied calmly, her voice steady. "The echoes, they're telling me about the space. How far the walls are, what's ahead?" She made a sharp click. "To our left, about 5 meters, there's a smooth flat wall. To our right," she made a longer, deeper hum, "there's an open cavern, maybe a drop-off." Commander Valerius scoffed. "You're going to map an alien minefield with humming?" "Sharma, we're talking about advanced alien technology here, not some overgrown dirt cave on Earth." Dr. Thorne, too, mumbled something about primitive methods and unscientific approaches. Their reliance on technology made them blind to anything else. But then, Anya cautiously moved a few steps to her left, her hands outstretched in the darkness. "Wall," she announced softly, touching the cold, smooth surface exactly where she had predicted. She moved right. After a few more steps, her foot found empty air, "Drop off," she whispered. A sudden chill went down Commander Valerius's spine. She was right. Sergeant Grin Riley, who had been quietly observing, let out a low whistle. "Well, I'll be. All right, Sharma, you got my attention. How do we make this sonic map of yours?" Grin, always practical, was the first to shed his skepticism. "If it worked, it worked," Anya explained, in simple, easy English. "Think of it like this. I make a sound. The sound travels. When it hits something, a wall, a rock, a gap, it bounces back, like throwing a ball against a wall. If the ball comes back fast, the wall is close. If it takes longer, the wall is far. But it's more than that here. The type of sound, like a high note or a low note, and how it changes when it comes back, tells me what the surface is made of. Rough rock sounds different from smooth metal. The real challenge, however, was the sonic minefield itself. These wasn't just normal echoes. The mines didn't just vibrate, they distorted echoes, sending back confusing, misleading sonic signals. Anya explained, "These mines, they're like noise filters. They try to trick your ears. A straight wall might sound like a winding passage, or a small rock might sound like a huge cavern. I have to learn to read the distortion, to separate the real echo from the mine's trick." This was her biggest obstacle, a direct counter to her unique talent. Despite the fear, a flicker of hope ignited in the team. They started to cooperate, tentatively trusting Anya's blind navigation. Grin Riley began to help Anya by making different sounds on command, tapping his rifle butt against the ground, clicking his teeth, even singing a low, sustained note to see how the mine absorbed it. He was becoming her extra set of ears. Dr. Thorne, though still frustrated with his own failed tech, watched Anya with a growing, grudging respect. Commander Valerius, while still maintaining his authority, was forced to rely on Anya, his very life now dependent on her whispers and hums in the absolute dark. The human team, once so dependent on their advanced vision, was learning to see with their ears, guided by the quiet strength of a woman who understood the silent language of the deep. The true journey, navigating the terrifying, sound-distorting labyrinth, was about to begin. Their journey through the mine was a harrowing dance with the unseen. Every step was deliberate, agonizingly slow, guided by Anya's whispered instructions and the subtle shifts in the echoes around them. Commander Valerius, accustomed to rapid, tactical movements, found the snail's pace frustrating. His frustration often turned into curt demands for speed, but Anya would simply shake her head, her face a pale blur, in the absolute blackness. "Commander, haste here means a fall, or worse, a triggered mine. We move at the speed of sound, not sight." He had no choice but to trust her. They moved in a single file, hands on each other's shoulders, a human chain of reliance in the suffocating dark. Their voices were kept low, mere whispers to avoid triggering the more volatile sonic mines. Anya would make soft clicks, send out low hums, or even hum a complex melody, listening intently to the feedback. "All right, Grin," a sharp tap on the left wall, 3 feet ahead, she'd instruct. Grin would comply, his strong hand rapping lightly, and Anya would process the echo. "Okay, Commander, narrow passage ahead, about 7 feet high, 2 feet wide. We'll have to go single file." The mines themselves were a constant, invisible threat. They weren't like Earth's explosives. Instead, they emitted jarring vibration waves that assaulted their inner ears, twisting their sense of balance and direction. When they passed too close to one, the floor would seem to tilt, their stomachs would churn, and a wave of nausea would wash over them. Dr. Thorne, particularly sensitive to these disturbances after relying so heavily on visual input, would often stumble, clutching his head. "Ugh, my whole world just did a somersault," he'd groan, leaning against an unseen wall. Anya would patiently guide him back, reminding him to focus on her voice, not his disoriented senses. Their most chilling experiences were the encounters with the Lumina. They couldn't see them, but they could hear them, the Lumina's distressed chirps, their frantic dim light flares that only served to highlight the vastness of their own blindness, were eerie in the profound silence. Sometimes, they'd hear the soft, frantic scurrying of Lumina bodies, bumping into walls, desperately trying to use their useless light-based sensors. There was one unforgettable moment. Anya had mapped a narrow passage. "Clear ahead, but the walls are close," she'd whispered. As they squeezed through, Anya stopped dead. She held up a hand, signaling for silence. "Wait," she breathed. She made a soft, almost imperceptible click with her tongue. The echo came back, but with a subtle distortion, a slight shimmer she hadn't detected before. Then, she heard it. A faint, almost silent, desperate flicker of light, very close. Suddenly, a Lumina stumbled forward from the darkness, a dim, barely glowing form, and bumped directly into Commander Valerius. Both species recoiled in shock. The Lumina let out a high-pitched, surprised chirp, its dim light flaring erratically in panic. Valerius, startled, took a step back, his hand instinctively going for his sidearm. For a terrifying second, tension hung in the thick air, but in the total darkness, neither species could properly assess the threat. The Lumina, visually impaired, retreated quickly, its light fading back into the oppressive black. Valerius, after a moment, holstered his weapon. It was a bizarre, almost comical moment of shared blindness, a testament to how disorienting the mine was. "Well," Grin whispered, a shaky chuckle in his voice, "at least we know they're as lost as we are." Anya found her greatest challenges in the dead zones, sections of the mine where the walls were composed of a unique, sound-absorbing mineral. Here, her echoes simply wouldn't return. It was like shouting into a pillow. In these areas, her past fears from the cave-in would resurface, a cold dread that mirrored the chilling void around them. She'd rely purely on instinct, a gut feeling honed by years of caving, and on the feel of the ground beneath her feet. Commander Valerius, surprisingly, offered a strange form of support. "Shama," he'd say, his voice low, "I trust your gut, we've come this far." His initial skepticism had been replaced by a grudging, then full, respect for her unique ability. Grin Riley became Anya's invaluable scout. He'd volunteer to go ahead, tapping different surfaces, making various noises, a low hum, a sharp whistle, for Anya to interpret. His casual bravery and constant stream of light-hearted comments kept the team's spirits from completely plummeting. "All right, Doc, testing this rock. Sounds like a grumpy old man snoring. What do you think?" he'd quip, and Anya would, against her will, sometimes crack a faint smile. They also discovered a new threat, the Mine Dwellers. These were large, blind alien creatures that lived deep within the mine, perfectly adapted to the absolute darkness. They hunted by sensing the faintest vibrations and sound waves. They could even trigger the sonic mines themselves to disorient their prey. One moment, they heard a strange, deep thrumming followed by a violent vibration from the ground that nearly knocked them off their feet. Anya quickly realized what it was. Mine Dwellers, they hunt by sound, and they're triggering the mines. They had to learn to move even more silently, and Anya had to use her sonic skills not just for mapping, but for evasive maneuvers. She learned to send out specific, low-frequency hums that mimicked the subtle background vibrations of the mine itself, effectively cloaking their sounds. Or she'd send out a sharp, high-pitched whistle that, while painful to the Mine Dwellers, would temporarily disorient them, giving the team a crucial few seconds to move. Dr. Thorne, witnessing this raw, almost primitive form of navigation and defense, felt a profound shift in his understanding. His advanced light-based tech was useless, but Anya's mastery of sound was a revelation. He began to ask her questions, not of skepticism, but of genuine scientific curiosity. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only days, Anya detected a faint change in the echoes, a subtle shift in the air's density, a hint of circulating currents. They were close to something. The hum of the sonic mines was intensifying, meaning they were approaching the minefield's most dangerous, complex section. But beyond it, Anya sensed a slight difference, a change in the air's taste, hinting at an exit. The next challenge would be the toughest, but it also held the promise of light. Anya's heightened senses detected it first, a subtle shift in the mine's air currents, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth that hinted at an exit. But with this hope came a renewed sense of danger. The hum of the sonic mines grew louder, more insistent, indicating they were entering the most complex and dangerous section of the minefield. It was like a final twisted puzzle set by the very planet itself. "The exit's close," Anya whispered, her voice tight with concentration. "But this last stretch, it's dense. More mines, more distortions, and the air is moving. There might be a surface vent." Suddenly, the space around them felt different. The echoes, instead of coming from a few directions, were bouncing back from everywhere, creating a confusing, overlapping sonic mosaic. This was the largest chamber they had encountered, and it was filled with the Lumina. A huge group of them, frantic and desperate, their dim, flickering forms moving aimlessly, bumping into walls and each other. They had also found the single narrow path to the exit, and were trying to navigate it with their useless light-based senses. "They're here," Commander Valerius stated, his voice a low growl. He could hear their distressed chirps, the frantic thrum of their bodies as they activated hidden minds in their blind panic. "It looks like we're all headed for the same door." The Lumina, usually so graceful and precise in their light-filled world, were a picture of utter helplessness in the darkness. Their beautiful glowing bodies pulsed weakly, their advanced optical sensors completely overwhelmed. They were trying to communicate with each other through chaotic, meaningless light patterns. They were attempting to feel their way out, their delicate forms brushing against the rough, mineral-laden walls, their distress echoing through the chamber. Yet, as they blundered, they occasionally felt the subtle vibrations of the humans moving nearby, precisely and with purpose, without any visible light. This precision, in their lightless world, was a source of profound confusion and growing awe for the Lumina. Miley Dielf, Mylia knew this was the ultimate test. She took a deep breath. "All right, team, this is it. I need absolute silence from you. I'm going to try a full spectrum sweep." "Grin, can you be my echo point? Just a single sharp clap when I tell you." Grin nodded, even though Anya couldn't see him. "You got it, Doc. One crisp clap, coming right up." Anya began. She started with a low, resonant hum, letting the sound slowly fill the vast, dark chamber. She listened intently to its return, mapping the large, open spaces. Then she shifted to a series of sharp, high-pitched clicks, probing for smaller obstacles, hidden crevices, and, most importantly, the exact locations of the sonic mines. She focused on the distortions from the mines, learning to filter out the noise, to hear the truth beneath the deception. Her face was a mask of intense concentration, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cold. Dr. Aris Thorne, who had been muttering about sensor readouts and data points for days, found himself utterly captivated. He watched Anya, not with his eyes but with a new kind of understanding. He saw the intricate dance of sound waves in his mind, understanding, for the first time, the raw, unadulterated brilliance of her method. His own advanced technology had failed, but Anya's primitive approach was revealing a map more precise than any his light-based scanners could have hoped for in this environment. He began to ask her rapid-fire questions, his tone no longer skeptical but eager to learn. "The phase inversion on that last echo, how did you compensate for it?" Anya, remarkably, answered him even while maintaining her concentration. Commander Valerius, witnessing this spectacle, felt a profound shift. He had always put his faith in visible power, in measurable data. But here, in absolute darkness, the quiet, almost invisible power of a human voice, expertly wielded, was their only hope. He saw Anya not just as a spelunker, but as a true pioneer. "Incredible," he murmured, a rare display of genuine admiration in his voice. As Anya meticulously built her sonic map, a Lumina leader, its dim light flickering with what seemed like intense concentration, slowly approached the human team. It radiated a peculiar series of low-frequency vibrations, a form of communication that Anya, with her heightened sensitivity, could partially decode. It was asking for guidance, for understanding. It was a plea. Anya paused her mapping. "Commander," she said softly, "they're lost. They want to know how we're doing this." The choice was tense. They could push past the disoriented Lumina, securing their own exit, or they could share the path. Anya, her humanity shining through, made the decision without hesitation. "We'll guide them. There's enough room for both." Communicating with the Lumina was difficult. Anya used a combination of modulated hums and controlled clicks to indicate directions. Grin Riley, seeing the intent, offered to help. He would clap once for forward, twice for turn left, his loud, clear sound a beacon for both humans and Lumina. Dr. Thorne, now completely invested, began to interpret the subtle light flares of the Lumina, helping Anya refine her sonic instructions. Together, the two species, one navigating by an ancient refined sense, the other by desperate instinct, began to move through the final, treacherous minefield. It was a strange procession, humans holding onto each other, Lumina forms flickering dimly, both following the rhythmic claps and subtle hums of Anya. The ground trembled with the increasing number of activated mines, a constant barrage of disorienting vibrations. Then, a massive jolt rocked the chamber. A particularly large sonic mine had been triggered by a disoriented Lumina, causing a partial collapse of the passage ahead. Rocks thundered down, blocking the path. "Go! Now!" Anya yelled, her voice raw. "Grin, we need a clear path!" Liam O'Malley, his massive frame perfectly suited for this, moved forward without hesitation. He had brought a small, high-frequency sonic drill, usually used for breaking rock samples. He activated it, sending out a focused burst of high-pitched sound, not as a weapon, but as a tool. He used Anya's sonic map to find the weak points in the fallen rock, targeting them with precise, deafening bursts. The high-pitched whine was unbearable, even for the humans in their suits, but it was effective. Rock crumbled, clearing a narrow, desperate opening. The Lumina, though distressed by the sound, understood the urgency. They surged forward, guided by Anya's continued hums, squeezing through the newly created gap. Humans followed, pushing past the vibrating mines, their bodies aching, their minds reeling from the sensory overload. They scrambled through the last narrow passage, the vibrations growing maddeningly intense, until suddenly, the air changed. It was lighter, cooler. A faint, almost imperceptible light pierced the profound darkness. They had reached the exit. The transition from the mine's crushing, absolute darkness to the radiant glow of Xylos was overwhelming. The human team stumbled out, blinking furiously, their eyes straining against the sudden vibrant light. Their bodies ached from the relentless vibrations and the constant tension of blind navigation. Commander Valerius, usually stoic, leaned against a glowing rock formation, taking deep, shuddering breaths. Dr. Thorne was almost in a daze, his face pale, still processing the sensory overload. Grin Riley just grinned weakly, his humor finally returning. "Well," he croaked, "that's one way to clear your sinuses." Behind them, the Lumina poured out of the mine's maw, their bodies instantly flaring back to their full, magnificent luminosity under Xylos's light. Their graceful forms pulsed with renewed energy, but their movements were still hesitant, their light patterns conveying a mix of relief and profound confusion. They looked at the humans, then back at the dark hole they had just emerged from, their internal light shifting in bewildered patterns. The Lumina leader, a being of pure, shimmering golden light, slowly approached Anya. It extended a delicate, luminous tendril, not in aggression, but in a gesture that seemed to convey awe. The Lumina communicated through complex light dances, something Thorne could now partially interpret with his restored senses. Their light patterns expressed profound wonder at how the humans, being so reliant on visual perception, could navigate such absolute darkness. For the Lumina, this blind navigation was nothing short of a miracle. They had always believed that without light, there was only chaos and non-existence. Anya had just shown them a new dimension of reality. They're amazed, Dr. Thorne whispered, his eyes wide. Their leader is asking how you did it, Anya. How you saw without light. His own arrogance about technology had completely dissolved, replaced by a genuine thirst for knowledge. He was no longer a cynical tech guru but a humbled student. Commander Valerius stepped forward, a rare, proud smile on his face. He extended his hand towards the Lumina leader, a gesture of peace and mutual respect. "We learn," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Sometimes, the old ways, the simple ways, are the strongest." He looked at Anya, a deep respect in his eyes. "Sergeant Sharma, you've shown us that true strength isn't just in what our instruments can measure, but in what our minds can perceive and what our spirit can endure." He had learned a crucial lesson. Over-reliance on technology could create a new kind of blindness. The Lumina, profoundly impacted by their shared ordeal in the mine, now saw humanity in a completely new light. Their previous perception of humans as merely shadowy beings had shifted. They realized that their own absolute reliance on light had created a significant vulnerability, a dark spot in their understanding of the universe. They had encountered true darkness and found it terrifying, while these seemingly fragile beings had navigated it with a grace the Lumina could only dream of. The Lumina leader conveyed, through intricate light patterns that Dr. Thorne now worked tirelessly to fully translate, their desire to learn from humanity how to navigate and understand environments without light. This marked the beginning of a truly unique and unexpected alliance. Humans and Lumina began to share their knowledge. The Lumina, with their advanced understanding of energy and light manipulation, shared insights into the lumin crystals and new ways to harness their power. In return, humanity, led by Anya and a now enthusiastic Dr. Thorne, began to teach the Lumina the fundamentals of sonic mapping, of using sound and vibration to perceive the world. They showed the Lumina how to interpret echoes, how to differentiate materials by their sonic signatures, and even how to create controlled sonic pulses for navigation. Xylos became more than just a resource planet for humanity. It transformed into a joint research hub. Human and Lumina scientists worked side by side, exploring new frontiers in sensory science. They developed hybrid technologies, human equipment with integrated Lumina light manipulation for crystal extraction, and Lumina crafts equipped with human-designed sonic navigators for exploring previously inaccessible dark regions of their own planet. The sonic mapping minefield became a legendary tale, told across both species, a testament to the fact that the greatest discoveries are often made when different perspectives collide, not in conflict, but in shared struggle and mutual learning. The story's core message resonated deeply. True ingenuity isn't always about the most advanced gadget, but about the human spirit's boundless capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to trust in its intrinsic senses. It showed that perceived weaknesses can become hidden strengths, and that sometimes the profound darkness of a cave can illuminate the brightest paths forward, fostering understanding and collaboration between vastly different worlds. They had found not just crystals but a deeper connection, echoing through the newfound silence and the shared wisdom of Xylos.